Hello everyone and welcome to this video, which is in our great human games series. Well, they're my games anyway. I've been playing a fair amount of Blitz and Bullet mainly on Lichess, and I wanted to share some nice tactical episodes from those games. I play quite wildly in Blitz. Sort of the spectacle is kind of more important to me than the result necessarily. And I tend to play some quite interesting openings, a lot of Mariotti openings at the moment, some Leela High Contempt openings, and also some openings from Leela playing at rook odds and knight odds. So tend to get quite interesting games. And I've just got a couple of videos with some nice tactical episodes for you to try. Not too complicated, but quite fun, quite spectacular. So this is the first set of 10 in this video, and we start off with this game. As you can see, I'm white and got quite a few pieces around the black king here, knight, bishop, and the knight on there. And black played the move knight e5. Well, it didn't really address the problems on the dark squares, of course, but not so easy to see how to do that anyway. So what did I play here? So it's actually well, either mate in 2 or winning the queen. I played the move knight ef6 check, and after king h8, it's the only reasonable move really, then bishop g7 is checkmate. Lovely mating attack with 3 pieces. I think I'm picking up on these quicker than I used to somehow. Simply watching Leela play queen odds, and doing things with pieces without needing the queen at all. So I thought that was very nice. I enjoyed that one. So this was another game, again from a slightly crazy Leela opening, and I played the move queen d3 here. So actually getting out of the pin of the bishop on the knight. As you can see, the black king's kind of a little bit weak, and also a little bit sort of bottled in somehow. This pawn on e7, which hasn't been moved yet because black wanted to develop the light squared bishop, is sort of stopping the black queen even from getting across to to help cover stuff somehow. Black played the slightly careless move bishop g7. What did I play? I mean, this is a very typical tactic, and shows one of the dangers for black whenever white opens the h-file. White's just got the move rook takes h7 in this position. And after rook takes h7, I've got the follow-up queen g6 check, of course, and I'm forking the king and the rook on h7. There's just one little extra thing that you maybe have to think about if you're particularly bothered. You could just sort of say, well, I'm assuming that I'm going to have plenty of attack here. I mean, queen f5 check would pick up the bishop with a nice check. I played the move knight f5 in this position, which is even stronger. Again, this king is very weak, and the queen and the pawn, they don't enable black to defend the bishop on g7. Actually, the bishop's got no move at all. So black ended up playing here, but I just took. And now a good move. Just slightly more experience there in Blitz, not just giving checks, but stopping the king from moving away, setting up the check and mate. Nothing too spectacular in that one, but a very typical tactic, this one, well worth remembering in your games. This one's quite nice, actually. So this was the position after after move 15, another bit of a crazy Leela opening. And I mean, white's done pretty well. I've got rook and piece, rather 2 pieces for the rook. Black's got a couple of pawns. King's a little bit in the centre here. I mean, I could just move it out of the way, which would be quite decent. I mean, I've got the bishops pointing towards the king. It is quite dangerous. But I came up with something which I thought was quite nice, actually. So I'll give you the first couple of moves. I decided I could give back or sacrifice this knight on e5. Rook f1, f6, move my king out of the way. So knight's threatening to move away. Also got ideas like bishop c4 check, so black's got to take it off. And now what was my idea? This was a bullet somehow, so I'm was quite happy to find this idea. I missed black's main defense, but that's sort of par for the course, really. What did I play here as white? So yeah, I mean, what I did here was play the move bishop h7 check, and the idea here is that after king takes h7, I play the move rook f7, and actually what I decided, just glancing at it very quickly, was that it was very hard for black to defend the g7 pawn. What I actually missed was that black could play the move queen f6. That's the problem when you sacrifice lots of material. And after rook f6, gf6, I mean, white's a little bit better. The queen's always active, the king's a bit open, but yeah, it's not so amazing. But black played the move rook g8, and now this was the point, bishop takes e5. And here I really was right, that it's very, very difficult for black to add any protection onto the g7 pawn, strangely, actually. Black played the move queen f8, takes, bishop g4 check, queen g4, but obviously the problem is that if rook takes f8, queen takes g7 is checkmate. Black played the move g6, and well, there are various ways, but queen h4 checkmate is the best. But I was quite pleased with that one. I was quite pleased just with the vision to spot that this position was actually black was actually not able to defend the g7 pawn. Looks like black's got plenty of pieces, but somehow it isn't quite working there. So this next one's quite funny. So somehow or other, I've managed to get my a rook over to the to the g file. That's what you do when you're trying to play a bit crazy. Yeah, I've got some threats obviously brewing on the king side. Black decided that the best way to try and counter was to play this move knight takes d4. So making use of that pin on the pawn on c3. Obviously white's got bishop takes h6 here, and exploiting that pin on the pawn on g7. And black played knight f5, so forking these two guys and hoping to exchange off queens. However, I came in with queen g4 here, and obviously this is very dangerous. Knight takes g3, I've got queen g7, and if you go something like queen f6, then I go bishop g7. Pretty normal way of powering through. For example, queen g7, I take, and I go h6, which is really, really dangerous. Well, black didn't play the best defense, played the move king h7. I guess looking to absorb things. If I take on g7, you're trying to go rook g8 and claim this might be okay. But I've got this quite nice move, bishop c2, pinning the knight on f5 and actually threatening this move queen g7 with checkmate. So black played rook g8 here, and this is your task now. How did I finish off the game here? Well, the very nice finish, I enjoyed this one, was to go bishop takes f5 check. It's probably the most accurate, I think. E takes f5, and now if you didn't spot bishop f5, then maybe give it another go. Have a look what I played here. The move was queen g6 check. Oh, it's nice playing those, especially in bullet. So f takes g6, I go h g6, and after king h8, I've just got the simple bishop g5 with checkmate, the rook on h1, giving checkmate there. And, well, king h8 was played, and then bishop g7 was checkmate. Bah, not as nice, but still getting the job done. This one was quite sweet. So this was one of my Mariotti openings, which is the wing gambit against the Sicilian. And then if black takes it, then Mariotti always did something slightly unusual, which I've been playing an awful lot. Again, seems pretty decent somehow. Mariotti had a pretty good sense of what was dangerous for the opponent. So this position's quite unclear, basically. Yeah, I mean, I'm still a pawn down here, but I've got some open lines. Black was a little incautious here and played the move knight g4. presumably wanting to embarrass me with the move queen takes h4. But here white's got a nice little tactic. It's not winning on the spot or anything, but it is extremely unpleasant for black. So can you spot it? Well, the move was bishop takes d7 check. Quite nice. So obviously if you take with a queen, then I've got queen takes a8 check. This rook is hanging. If you go to f8, I probably haven't checked that actually, but I think bishop e6 was very good, making use of that pin there. So black took on d7, and slightly more complicated. It's not 100% clear, but I go rook b7 check, king e8 and queen c6, and this is the point. I can pick up the pawn, the bishop on c5. Important to pick it up with check, and then afterwards I played the move bishop g5, so I'm covering that h4 pawn. And yeah, I mean, obviously, white's doing pretty well now. Quite a big initiative, and this pawn on d4 is dropping, and then this knight on g4 will be a bit awkward as well. I can chase it away with f3. a7 pawn is hanging as well, so not completely winning, but a very nice little spot there. These tactics, making use of these geometry things, very important to spot at quick time controls. Really helps. This one's nice. So pretty quiet opening. I didn't get that much out of a crazy Leela opening. But here black played knight h5, and after take he took on g7. And just see whether you can spot the nice little tactic that I've got. Not too dramatic, but actually quite nice and geometrical. So the tactic is queen c3 check. And the key point is that I'm hitting the king, and I'm also threatening knight takes d5. And the pawn on c6 is pinned, and the queen's attacked. And the nice point about it was that black played the move knight f6, which seems to defend that pawn on d5. But after knight takes d5, it's the same tactic. The knight on f6 is pinned to the king on g7, and the pawn on c6 is pinned to the queen on c7. So c takes d5 would just allow queen takes c7. So white does just pick up a pawn there with a winning position. Quite like that one. I was very happy with that one. This one was quite nice. Another Sicilian wing gambit, where black I think had declined it in actual fact, but yeah, didn't really help. Got this position where where actually I'd ended up just sacrificing something on the other side, some rook and knight's pawns on the other side. So just keep on going basically. And I've got a lot of potential pressure here. I mean, if you're looking at how are the pieces combining, which is always important. You've got knight on g6, knight takes h5, rook on h5, queen on h5. Actually, I pointed out in one of the books I wrote a long time ago, Tips for Young Players, which I can thoroughly recommend. Actually, it's not really for young players. It's more when you've got past the initial stage of being a beginner, what things are important to know. And I was talking about instantly seeing connections in the position. So you look at what are all my pieces attacking in the position, and sometimes you get this idea of clusters, that things are combining, and then you start thinking, oh well, how can I sort of exploit that? How can I bring my pieces into play, exploiting those clusters of influence? And well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking to try and get my queen into h5. Basically, that's what I really want. But for the moment it's not that easy because the knight on f3 is in the way. So can you spot something that will enable me to get my queen to h5 with tempo, and get rid of my knight on f3 with tempo? It's a little bit more complicated, a little bit longer, but if you're just thinking about those things, then you might be able to see. Now the very best way of doing it is to play the move e6 check. And then after bishop takes e6, which is more or less forced, I take the pawn on g6. And then after king takes g6, I've got this move knight e5 check. And with all those clearing ideas, I've managed to get my queen to h5. And it's really strong because after takes check, king g7, I'll have bishop takes h6 check. And well, I mean, at the very least, I'll just be able to take this knight on e5, and I'm going to have sort of good material and also a completely exposed king. And my opponent tried to bring the queen into play. I took there. I'm threatening queen g6, checkmate now. So queen g8. And yeah, this is always a bit tricky in this blitz and bullet, finishing off things. I'm not that good at it, bizarrely enough. I'm not quite sure. I think I've just got this natural tendency nowadays. It wasn't when I was professional, but nowadays just to kind of lose interest a little bit. Sort of say, I've won it now. That's good enough. And the menial task of winning the games, I don't do so well. But here I managed. Bishop h6. And then, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The danger in blitz and bullet is you start, calculating stuff. I mean, I could actually have won beautifully with bishop f8 check, and that would have been a queen sacrifice. So that's a little bit of a shame. But I just played queen h5, and and that worked out fine. Queen e8 takes, and I won prosaically. Would have been nice to finish off with a queen sacrifice, but yeah. No worries. Oh, we've got another little one. I mean, this is just a sharp little tactic. Actually, this is one of the things that shows, why are rook's pawns useful here. Just show me yeah, kind of a main line, I guess, making use of this rook's pawn. So, yeah, the nice thing about rook's pawn, it happens an awful lot here, that something like f6 is met by a move like h6, this little intermediate move. Obviously, if you take on here, I mean, at the very least, I can just take like this, take some bishop d5 with a really nice position. All these weak pawns, king can't castle. I'm just going to castle queenside and line up on the g6 and h7 pawns. Black played bishop f8, just claiming that I've got a couple of pieces en prise. And now, well, I just give you a little moment, if you like, just to work out what White's reply here is. The reply is knight f6 check, and after takes we play e5. And the key thing is that if you go d takes e5, of course, I go queen d8 check and bishop f6 check. Very typical tactic there. See a lot in stuff like the Mora gambit. You see this a lot. So black played bishop e7, but then I take and go queen takes d6, queen b2 castles, and there's only one of us who's got a nice safe king here. And the nice thing is, of course, that if black castles kingside, that's never the end of it, because I've got a pawn on h6, which is going to enable me to threaten mates on g7. That's such a nice point of having a pawn on h6 like that. This one is really, really nice, I have to say. Had this a number of times. Comes from a Leela odds opening, and yeah, this is if you've followed me on Mastodon, then you will have seen it. But in this position, black played the move knight takes e5, so trying to exploit this pin on the knight on f3. And it looks quite decent at the start, also attacking the bishop on c4. But white's got a very, very typical, you see this in all the beginners' books, only, yeah, it's sometimes easy to miss those things because you don't expect them to occur against, yeah, quite strong players. This guy's 2800 bullet player, so didn't quite expect it to happen there. White to play and win. There's one big main line, which is really nice, and there's one sideline you have, a couple of sidelines you have to see, just to make it all work. So the idea is knight takes e5, and after bishop takes d1. If you take on e5, by the way, I just take the bishop. I'm just a piece up, so that doesn't work. Got to take my queen, and then I take on here. And the problem is that if bishop f6, just got to be a little bit careful here, is to put the knight on c6, so that you can't block on e7, because I just take the queen. And after king d7, I go knight d8, and of course I'm threatening the bishop on d1, and I'm a piece up as well. And after takes, I can just escape here, for example. I think even b7 is possible, but here, and white's a piece for a pawn up here. So, looking good. The key thing, of course, is g takes f6. And then if you haven't seen this yet, then just give yourself a little moment. White's got mate in 2 here, bishop f7, king f8. And the fact that the pawn's moved from here gives me bishop h6 checkmate. Lovely. lovely to do it. Also against a strong player as well. That's really, really nice. Okay, I think this is the 10th tactic. Hope you're keeping up with me. So this is the position. So again, I think this is an odds Leela opening again, and yeah, this one's very interesting. So you might have a little guess about what's following up here. White to play and win. I think the first thing that you've got to see is just a cluster of about 3-4 moves, you know. So this is a sort of a doubling up sort of Greek gift sacrifice, because I take off, so I get rid of everything there, and then I go knight g5 check, and well, of course, if you're taking on here, I'm taking, and you know, bringing the rook into play there. So black played the move king g6. King h6 might have been a better defense, but it's still very strong for white. But we'll go with this one. And then I went queen g4 here, and black defended with f5. So can you find the mate here? I mean, normally you have to play a move like queen g3 in these situations, but I've got this extra factor of the bishop assisting, so I've actually got something a lot nicer here. I can play the move h5. The king can't go to f6 because the bishop's covering. That's normally possible as well. King h6 only move, and now knight f7. And got a couple of ideas. If king h7, I've got queen g7, and if rook takes f7, then I've got queen g6, checkmate. So there we are. I hope you enjoyed those little tactics. I've got another video, another 10, and if I get myself round to it, I've got quite a few gorgeous tactics as well from Leela playing at various odds for you as well. So do stay tuned for the next few weeks. I can't do as many videos as I was doing over the Christmas New Year period, but going to try and keep up a bit of a ready. Well, a flow is maybe too much. A little trickle is true. So do follow that. And you know, thanks very much for watching, and hope to see you at the next videos. Thanks for watching.